It's back! Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land, Jake, the OneManBand is back again, and welcome to the first episodic review of RWBY Volume 3. It is amazing that we have finally come to this gracious moment that we can finally once again take in what is the true essence of RWBY, the show itself. Now, it's a little strange that we get the first episode and we don't even get a trailer. What's that? Oh, there was a trailer. What? They showed it off the day before. You mean the day before that they released the first episode? You're freaking lying. Now, with that aside, I may take a look at the trailer and actually give it its own breakdown some other time. Maybe a future video. Maybe later on this week. But right now, I truly want to just talk about the first episode of RWBY Volume 3 in itself. And it is, in fact, a trailer that brings everything that it needs to the table in order for us to get hyped for this next volume. Alright, let me be the first to say, the episode's 17 minutes long, and that is longer than any other episode, I think. Except maybe one. I think there was one episode that was about 18 minutes, but it's definitely a very, very long episode, so we're getting a lot of content, and we are going to probably continue to be speculating and talking about this one by the time of this week, next week, by the time of this next week. I messed that up, didn't I? So let's begin. Let's talk about how the episode starts off. It starts off with RWBY visiting her mother's grave. Now, it may just be me, or it may just be the truth, but her visiting her mother's grave and the fact that Taeyang is also there and is mentioned while RWBY is talking to her mother's grave, that I believe that the team that Crow, Raven, Summer, and Taeyang were on, Team Turquoise or Quartz or whatever you want to call it, is going to play a very vital role in this next volume. Whether it be how things went on in the past or how things are going to turn out in the future. I believe that these characters of Team Quartz or Turquoise are going to play a very pivotal role in how this volume is going to shape up. Not only that, but as the video starts out, it's a very, very somber tone. It's very sort of just, I don't want to say dark, and I don't want to say sad. It's not really sad, it's just calmed. It's RWBY, and she's pouring her heart out to her mother's grave, almost as if her mother is alive. Almost as if it is hinting towards the fact that Summer Rose may in fact not be dead. I mean, that just may be my opinion, but the fact that they bring it in like this makes me think that Summer Rose is going to have a much pivotal role than just a gravestone. And speaking of gravestones, on the actual gravestone there is carved, "Thus kindly I scatter." Now, what does that exactly mean? Was that a quote that she would always say? Does it pertain to the rose petals that always seem to be scattering from that area and from RWBY's cloak as well? I mean, there's probably a million different ways that can work. So I want to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Now, while RWBY is talking with her mother's grave, she mentions that Taeyang is going to start to go on missions again. Which is strange, because I thought that he had already been on a mission back in Volume 2. That's the reason why he sent Zwei to be with the girls. He said that he was going away for a while. Now, it could have just been a business trip, but I believe that he was actually going on some form of mission. So either he's keeping that a secret from RWBY, or it was just a business trip and it really didn't mean anything. But it furthers the idea that after Summer Rose died, Tai Yang sort of just shut down, as Yang suggested back in Volume 2. And it's only really now that his daughters are now starting to become huntresses that he can kind of come out of this shell and, you know, trying to get back into the world, if you will. We also learn from RWBY's discussion with her mother's grave that Yang has learned a lot from Tai Yang. Now, whether that be in battle or in social domesticism, I'm not entirely sure. But I do believe it pertains to battle due to the fact that Tai Yang, I believe at least, was probably a brawler type much like his daughter. And then when RWBY turns around to then go to the tournament, it shows Tai Yang for a few seconds, but it doesn't really show his face at all, or it doesn't clarify what he looks like. Why must they continue to tease us like this? Teasing! This is what that is. It kind of sucks. But then again, it builds tension. So, we got something to look forward to, I guess. We then come to the grand, masterful tournament time, where we see Team RWBY facing off against Team Auburn. Now, we have seen teasers of this fight for a while now, so to be honest, there's not really much to talk about the initial fight, except the fact Team RWBY wins. Go figure. But what really gets me is that they're starting right off this volume with the tournament. They're just all like, no beating around the bush, no establishing anything, it's just boom! Tournament! Fights! Yeah! I just think that since the Vitals tournament and festival are such like a big pivotal thing in the world of Remnant, that there would be a little bit more build-up to it, and I mean, maybe there'll be flashbacks in this volume that like go back to before it actually started. But it just seems like it moved way too fast, but then again, it pretty much is taking place almost immediately after Volume 2, unlike how Volume 2 took place a few months after Volume 1 ended. But here's some key things that I kind of got from that whole segment where Team RWBY was fighting Team Auburn. Now, of course, we have Oobleck and Port commentary, and it is amazing. I love those two characters, and their banter is so great. I love it, and especially Oobleck. Oobleck just steals the freaking show. And we learn how the Vital Tournament is going to go on, how there's the teams round, the doubles round, the single round, and then they're all gonna fight each other to win Grand Champion crown title status for the honor of their kingdoms, and it's just gonna be great. In the audience, we see that it's made up of not only students, but citizens alike, both human and Faunus. So there isn't so much Faunus xenophobia as we would think after all the White Fang shenanigans that have been going on. And who knows, maybe some of the Faunus that are in the actual audience are maybe White Fang sleeper agents, kind of getting a spot of things so that they can initiate their plan later on in the series. I don't know, it's just something to think about. But another thing is when it shows all around the world everyone's tuning in to watching the Vital City tournament. It shows off many different kinds of people and places, and they're all like 2D sketch drawings. Now, I'm not sure if it was such a good idea to have those kind of drawings in there, but you know what, I can dig it. I think it's cool how they kind of incorporated a new kind of like art style and how it kind of, well, it can kind of represent like things that are out of focus, because that's how Tai Yang was done back at the grave scene. He was kind of like a two-dimensional sketch drawing instead of the 3D puppet model. And you know what? In certain cases, the 2D sketch can work, the 2D art can work, but I just hope that they don't like pound it into the ground and use it too much to the point that we kind of just, it kind of annoys us. this new 2D art, it can really much be a double-bladed sword. It can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing. It all depends on how they decide to use it. So, lo and behold, Team RWBY wins their first round. Yay! Yeah, they're going on to the doubles round. And then they're at the fairgrounds trying to find something to eat. And let us be honest, we would want giant bowls of ramen that are like that too, even though it pains me to think that that whole joke came from Naruto. I would still very much want to eat a giant bowl of ramen like that, especially if it's full of fish. I am very much like Blake. I can eat me some dang fish. But it's during the fairground scene that we see that Emerald has seemed to get real buddy-buddy with Team RWBY just so she can keep an eye on them, of course, for Cinder. And, you know, it irks her so much because they're just always so happy, joy time. But we do see that she has almost integrated herself flawlessly into the student life. Until later on in the episode where I spotted something, but I'll get to that later. So, Emerald's doing her thing, and she's obviously the best talker of the group. She's the one who can kind of slide out of scenarios, very silver-tongued, a lot like Roman, if you think. Due to the fact that when RWBY is like, oh yeah, you should bring your team, we'll go get some ramen, it'll be freaking awesome, we can, you know, talk to each other, Emerald is just like, nah, it's probably not a good idea, my team's like socially awkward and weird, and Emerald puts on this whole, like, act, you know, liking boots. You know, it could be that he actually likes boots, or that he was putting on an act of being socially awkward, but I think he got a good laugh, sniffing boots. It's kind of gross, but it gets the point across. So Emerald, I believe, is probably gonna have more of a talking role in this volume. But we also learn that there is indeed a fourth member of the Chaos Syndicate team. And who may it be, my dear children? But in fact, it is Neo in disguise. Now, if you remember me talking way back when I was doing my Neo breakdown and my Neo breakdown redux, I gave the opinion that her semblance has something to do with illusions. Now, if we really think about that, Neo was able to not only put on a costume and disguise herself, which is pretty easy, you know, put on a different costume, wig, it's different. But we see that her disguise has green eyes, and we do not see her signature pink and brown eyes until she goes down to give her opponent a smirk before kicking him in the face. Now, is her whole disguise a pure illusion, or is it just her eyes that are an illusion? I don't know, but leave your thoughts down in the comments below what you guys think about it. And hey, my waifu's in the tournament, and we're probably gonna see a lot of her in the series. This volume. I'm liking this. Alright, next we rejoin Team RWBY at the Noodle shop, and they're down there getting big old bowls of ramen. Yang's getting her overly giant-sized fish with her ramen, and as they said at the RTX RWBY panel, they wanted to make Blake more fun in this volume, and I actually think that they're doing that. I found this episode to be really fun-filled and just a joy to watch, especially how the Team RWBY interacts with each other, and the animation just seemed to be more out there and crazy, and it was just great, and especially Blake's just how she was acting around the fish and how she wanted the fish so badly. It's just funny to watch. I'm sorry, but it is. And I could probably just watch that for hours and just laugh. You know, it probably goes along the line of how there's all those like cat videos on the internet and how we just love to watch them. Well, Blake is a cat, so I guess it freaking works. Now, it's when they get their giant bowls of ramen that we see that Weiss's card is declined. She wanted to pay for the meal due to the fact that Team RWBY voted that Weiss and Yang were gonna be going to the doubles round, which is a bit odd, because you would think that our main character RWBY would be ascending towards the top. But does this mean that Weiss or Yang is going to end up winning the tournament? I mean, it's just an odd thing to think about. I mean, talk about sending a ball into left field. I mean, you would think, at least I would think, oh, Ruby, yeah, she would be one of the doubles going up there. And you know, Blake has kind of had the most screen time and character development if you really think about it, so she'd probably be going up there too. But once you get down to really think about it, Weiss was one of the most versatile fighters during the Team Auburn match. She was the one going around dealing out the most damage, hitting the most of them, and just being altogether good and helpful to her teammates. And Yang was the one who was kind of just taking all the blows and dealing out all the damage, even knocking out 3 of the 4 members of Team Auburn. Plus the fact that Yang only gets more powerful the more she's hit, so that might give her an edge in future fights. And another thing to think about, if Blake was to advance to some of the final rounds, that would kind of put her in the spotlight, and really on the spot. So for a character who's trying to keep her secrets of being a former member of the White Fang and a Faunus under check, she probably wouldn't want to be in the limelight. So the fact that Weiss and Yang are going to the doubles round is actually pretty logical. But back to the noodle shop. So Weiss wants to pay for all of the bowls of ramen, but her card is declined. Now, why? As she said, she thought that she had barely gotten into her month's allowance. Well, beforehand, before they got to the noodle shop, we see Weiss declined a call from her father. Now, this may be retaliation from her father due to the fact that she's not talking to him. So he is just like, well, fine, I'll cut off her funds. So she'll have to come talk to me about it. I mean, it makes sense that a father would do something like that. If your kid isn't paying attention to you, what do? You take away their phone, you take away their money, you lock them in the room, and you change the Wi-Fi password. Because that's what you do to make your kids listen to you. It's called punishment. You gotta be cruel to be kind, but in the right measure, baby. You gotta be cruel to be kind. But luckily, Team Juniper shows up and is able to get them out of the problem so that they all get their ramen and their fish. Now it is here that we have Ruby and Team Juniper just talking to each other about the tournament that's gonna happen, and how they're so happy that they're gonna be in a fight with actual rules, and they're not gonna have to fight grim or crazed psychopaths and stuff like that. And we get to hear Ren's new voice, done by Monty Ulm's brother. And to be honest, yes, it is different. And we did know that Ren's voice was going to be different. But it fits. The voice very still well fits Ren. And I like this voice. I like the voice. I think it is great. And I am hoping that Ren gets more talking lines, because whenever he talks, it just sounds like, it's like he has that voice and sort of that just presence that, like, when he talks, it's like, yes, senpai, we are listening to you, senpai. And since we're on the subject of Ren, Nora kind of has a mental cognitive breakdown, if you will, by spanning out how things would go, hypothetically, if they were to lose their fight. And it is there that she states that her and Ren do not have parents. Now, I don't want to say that I called it, because I'm not sure if I actually went out and said and voiced my opinion on this matter, but I believed that Ren and Nora either were both orphaned at a young age, or one was taken into the care of the other's family. That's why they're so close, because Nora states that they had been together forever. So does this mean that they grew up in an orphanage together, or were they just kind of street dwellers for a while? And how did they get into Beacon Academy? Why did they become huntresses? Why would they become huntsmen and stuff like that if they grew up in an orphanage and stuff like that? So many questions, and will they be answered? Probably not, but it's something to think about. So pretty much the episode comes around to an end with Team Juniper going off to fight Team Bronze. Now, we see Team RWBY entering the arena, then followed by Mercury and Emerald. Now, if you watch closely, you can see that they go separate ways. But before the scene changes, we see Yang turn around and look at Emerald and Mercury. Now, it may have just been an animation like, oh yeah, we should have some movement there, maybe have Yang, turn around a little bit. But we heard Emerald and Mercury say that they were gonna go to once Emerald was done talking to Team RWBY, that they were gonna head back to the arena to watch some more fights. But why did they end up there after Team RWBY, or at the same time? Team RWBY went to go get ramen, talked with Team Juniper. Mercury and Emerald would have been at the arena by then, if you really think about it. So does this mean that Team RWBY kinda is suspicious about Emerald and Mercury? Sort of like they're playing dumb, if you will? I mean, maybe it's just Yang. Yes, that would make sense. Due to the fact that Raven came to talk to her, maybe Raven has some information and gave it to Yang, and that's why Yang is turning around looking at them, looking suspicious. The plot thickens, my friends. The plot indeed thickens. Last thing I really want to talk about is when Cinder joins Emerald and Mercury in the stands, she pops a kernel of popcorn with her fingers. So it's obvious that her burn dust power radiates from her body, not just her clothing, unless there are articles of clothing on her that contain dust. But she is not wearing her signature red dress. But then again, we saw in Volume 2 that her ninja catsuit also did that as well. Though we did not see any burning emblems or lines during her 2-second fight during Emerald's flashback, but, it's something to think about. Does it radiate from her body, or does it still radiate from her clothing? Make up your mind! Jeez! Freaking Cinder! But a line that is stated is, Mercury asks, who's going to win? He wonders who's going to win. And Emerald states, like you don't already know. Are these games fixed? Are they fixed so certain teams advance while others don't? Is this all part of Cinder's plan? Well, I guess only future episodes would tell, because that's pretty much all I got for this one. So hey guys, thanks for watching this episode breakdown of RWBY Volume 3, Episode 1. If you guys believed that I missed anything noteworthy to talk about, leave it down in the comments below, and leave all comments, questions, your own opinions down there as well, because I would love to read them and I want to know what you guys think. Now, be sure to like and favorite if you've enjoyed, subscribe, of course, if you feel inclined to, share this with all your RWBY friends. That way, we can get the wheels a-turning in everyone's minds, and hey, come on, we gotta get more people out there to start thinking about RWBY, especially now with Volume 3 coming around. And hey, maybe I'll get some more creators to see my work now. Of RWBY, I mean. Enough of that. Enough of my fantasy dreaming. I'll see you guys next time I'm out there in YouTube land. Be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward, check out some more RWBY videos that I've done. I do a lot of them. I'll see you next time. Yeah.